Woohoo! And we're live once again on another Tuesday, and I have a guest from across the pond today with us today. I don't even know what time it is. It's so funny. I'm on the road. I get all mixed up. So I have Aoife from Babushka Social here today. So can you just go ahead, before we get stuck in with our topic, can you please let people know who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. It's great to be here, Gillian. So I'm based out of the UK, out of London, and I help small and medium-sized businesses become more visible and more credible online. Being in the B2B space, that tends to be LinkedIn, but I can support businesses across all of the main social media platforms.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So our topic today is growing your company page on LinkedIn. And I thought this was a fabulous topic because I personally feel that maybe LinkedIn is kind of upping their game with company pages and making them more relevant because, of course, we've been seeing that company pages have gone premium. So some people are testing it out and seeing different things. We can discuss it today. In full disclosure, I don't have a premium page. You don't have a premium page. So we're just talking about it in generalities today. But that is kind of one of the new things that LinkedIn is doing. And it makes you realize, well, if you could have to pay to play for company pages, maybe this is a time that we should all be saying, is this an underutilized resource that more and more people should be using organically, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Gillian, when you talk about pay to play. I think as marketers, we don't like to think that we've got to pay for reach or pay to get results on social media, whether it's LinkedIn or any other platform. But the reality is, increasingly, that's the way LinkedIn is heading. So I think the smart strategy is, as you alluded to, get in early. So if we're looking at premium, for example, company pages, or whether it's newsletters or other new features, it makes sense to try and get in there early, test them out, and play around with it to see whether it's something that could work for you and your business.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And I do like that attitude because it's the same with our profiles. I, in full disclosure, don't pay to play for my profile either. I am totally on the free version of LinkedIn. And I know a lot of people, they feel there is value in premium on your profile. But if you don't have your profile optimized, it's kind of a waste of money. So probably the same thing is with the company pages. It's like, make sure you get all those ducks in a row before you even think about it. So you have run people's pages. You do run people's pages.
Yeah.
So that is probably a great thing that people should understand, that you can't run my personal profile, but you could run my page. So can you talk about how that works?
Yeah, sure. So I think again, it's spot on to think about before you start spending money on LinkedIn, whether it's a pay plan or whether it's even ads and advertising, you've got to think about, okay, have I got the basics right? Have I got a company page that looks credible, that's fully complete, that's professional? Because whatever activity you're taking on LinkedIn, whether it's your posting, your ads, whatever it is, if people are going to be landing on your page, you want to make sure what they land on speaks or creates the right impression. So thinking about how easy, for example, are you making it for people to land on your page to contact you? You could have lovely information on there talking about your company, et cetera, et cetera. But if it's not easy to take the next step, then you're looking at a missed opportunity. That person will probably just bounce off and move on to the next thing. So more and more people want whatever is easy. So have that front of mind when you're thinking about the content of your page. The second thing I would say is, and this is possibly one that people miss out on, is it's really important to make sure your page is fully complete. Mm-hmm. So again, I think LinkedIn gives you a little kind of a warning thing that says, something like your page is 75% complete or whatever. So it kind of points you to the sections that you might have missed. One of the reasons why that's really important is LinkedIn tell us that fully complete pages will get, I think it's something like 3 times extra views per week. So it makes sense to actually spend a little bit of time completing all those different sections. Now, again, as we were just talking about, it's not just about what way LinkedIn rewards you, but also think about that customer experience. So when someone lands on the page, And there's also a couple of sections that are probably a little bit underloved on company pages, but there's something called workplace and commitments. And LinkedIn brought those in, I think it was sometime last year, but they are good sections to complete if you want your page to speak to prospective talent. So if you've got employer brand, your objectives on LinkedIn. So I would recommend to anyone tuning into this, if employer branding and attracting talent to your company is important, go and have a look at those sections and make sure they're filled out, because not only will it help the reach of your page, but also it's good content to have on there when prospective employees are checking out your page.
That's great. That's great. So if I was coming to you and I had a company page and I said, I just don't have time to do it myself, I'm doing my profile, I'd like to hire you. What kind of things do you do for companies? How would you help run their page?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Gillian. I mean, really, it's the A to Z. Really, my job is to take the heavy lift away from someone who's busy doing other stuff, whether it's a business owner who's getting on with doing the 1,000,001 jobs a business owner has, or a marketer who's busy running all the other marketing channels. And I think what a lot of people also forget is social media is a specialist area. LinkedIn is a specialist area of social media. So if you're a marketer in a small or medium-sized company and your boss is expecting you to do all of social media on top of it, not only is that a lot of work, in reality, you can't expect a marketer to know how to effectively manage all those different channels. So my job is to take the time lift away from you, that job, but also to offer the expertise that is very difficult for you to have in-house, especially if you're a smaller company. And really, I do everything from the setup, making sure the company page is fully optimized, as we've just been talking about, and also importantly, supporting a company to look at, well, what makes good content on my page? Because sometimes companies fall into the trap where they go, oh, we're just going to talk about all the great stuff we're doing. Or we just want to attract website traffic, so we're just going to post out all our blogs. Whereas actually, you need to think about, well, what does your target audience want to see? And also having a mix of sort of content types, but in terms of topics, objectives of that content, and also formats. So really having a blended content strategy is really important.
That's good. That's good. And just for in case people don't know this, what are some of the levels? Like I can't give you access to my profile unless I gave you my login and my password, which is supposedly against LinkedIn's terms of services. But if I added you to my page, could you kick me out? Like what how does it all work in terms of getting somebody to be a part of your page?
Yeah, so I mean, a company pages operate very differently to personal profiles when it comes to giving other people access. So let's say, for example, you have a company page and you wanted to add me as an admin. You could go in and within the settings, you can choose to add me as an administrator of your page. And there are different levels of admin access. I mean, off the top of my head, I think one is super admin. I can't even remember what all they're called. Super admin has the most access and can access everything effectively. And then there's lighter versions of access that wouldn't be able to, for example, add other admins, but they'd be able to publish posts, for example. But the way I tend to work with clients is I would schedule their content using third-party scheduling tools. So yes, I need admin access to the page to do things like the analytics potentially, maybe to fix the page setup as we've been talking about. But when it comes to actually sending out the posts and getting the post to publish, most of that will be done through a scheduling tool. And there's a number of pros and cons to using a scheduling tool. I don't know whether we want to touch on that or save that for another day. It's possibly alive in itself.
I'm sure. So that sounds good. And I think that that's a good thing for people to understand, that it's like you can legally get someone to come in and give you that support on company pages, which is not possible on your profile. So those are things that I think are a good thing if you don't know that about how LinkedIn works with the company pages. Now, for anybody who's already, running company pages, what are some of the things that you've seen kind of come up recently, or, maybe within the last 6 months, that you kind of think are a thing people maybe aren't using on their company page, but maybe they should be using?
Yeah, well, I suppose the first one would be thinking about the new premium option on company pages. That's relatively new, and LinkedIn is offering company pages the trial. So basically, you get a 1 month free trial, which is a quite nice opportunity to check it out. Because once you do sign up to pay for it, the cost will depend on your location, but typically it works out at about $99 a month based on an annual plan. So I think if you were going to explore that, definitely sign up for the trial, check out, is it worth it? A bit like it with anyone using Sales Navigator. If you buy this tool and then you just don't do anything with it, then clearly you're wasting your money. But it is quite nice. I think what's exciting about the paid plan is it offers you, for example, the option to auto invite people to follow your page who have interacted with your posts. So I think that's quite a nice feature. So I think that would save people a lot of time, because at the moment the process to invite people to follow your page is quite manual. So you need to go in and select, from your connections, for example, who do you want to follow the page, and can be time consuming. And anything that's time consuming means it often doesn't get done, unless of course you outsource it to someone like me, and then I could do it for you. So I think that's a nice feature. And also to have better analytics. So on the premium option, it gives you insights into anyone who has visited your page. So at the moment, if you're on the free plan, you will get some insights around the number of views and very high level, kind of what I call more aggregated analytics. Whereas with the premium option, it will actually go down to individual user level. So that's a very exciting addition to the premium option. But like I said, Gillian, I think with anything, you want to trial it, test it, take advantage of a 1 month free trial, and then decide if it's worth it, and really take it from there. I think the other thing to think about with company pages is we've got to touch a little bit on video. It would be rude not to, given your expertise in that space, Gillian. So I think the kind of trajectory with social in general is the move more and more towards video. I mean, LinkedIn now has this new video tab that they're introducing. I don't yet have it, but I've heard some people who do have it. So I think if you are open to creating video, particularly native video, and posting that on your company page, posting on your personal profile, that's a great thing to do. But I think most importantly for me, when it comes to content on the company page, is, as I said before, having that multi-content topic and format approach. Sometimes I see with clients, they just want to post blog after blog after blog, and it just doesn't work. Notwithstanding the fact that LinkedIn now, they've changed the thumbnail on external links to that horrible little tiny kind of rectangular shape. And again, you're missing the visual standout with that. So again, it's thinking about what's going to really stand out in the feed. Most of the social media sessions are accessed through mobile. So you've got to always be thinking about, okay, what's going to stop that scroll? And how am I going to get people to actually pay attention to my content?
I agree. And on the topic of video, the one thing that stands out for me is that company pages can do LinkedIn Live events. They can post videos. They can, of course, post videos. There's always been this thing too. I don't even know how it all works still, if it works anymore, but there used to be a way that like company pages could like integrate Vimeo and like push out videos from Vimeo. So that was like another thing. But I know that like LinkedIn Live events on company pages are different in that, number one, you can have, different people helping you, which is kind of nice. But the most important thing is that you can request people to sign up to attend the LinkedIn Live event, which essentially, you can grow your email list because you can gate the live, which means that you ask people to sign up with their email address and their name, and they have to kind of quote register to attend the live. And I know people who are using that and they are growing their email list. So that is another thing that companies would be like, okay, that's kind of cool. And you can't do that on a personal profile. You can only do that on a page. So
I think that's really interesting. And I think you've prompted me to think of something else. I think, especially in smaller companies, it's so important to think about, if I do one thing, can I get multiple things from that one thing? So I often talk about the sort of 2 + 2 = 5 approach. So for example, another plus or pro of video is thinking about how you can repurpose the content. So whether it's repurposing it into, I know you do this with your lives, into audio, into like posts for, LinkedIn, text posts, blogs, etc. So really the smart marketer thinks about how can I get many things from one thing, because it saves you a whole ton of effort.
Exactly. And of course, any live can be broken into video snippets afterwards. And so that's a great way to go. So let me just pop over and see if we have any folks joining us today, which I know we do, which is always wonderful. We always have Jeff Young, who tunes in from YouTube and LinkedIn at the same time. And he says, I'm in the front row to learn about company pages, a very utilized resource, and it is. And like, you had, before we went live today, you used the phrase, don't let your page be a ghost town, because that's a credibility. And I'm absolutely guilty of this. I know my page is a ghost town. So even if you don't do anything, just keep it so it's not a ghost town.
Exactly. And I think sometimes, you know what? I think sometimes we get caught in that trap of chasing, what's called the vanity metrics, the impressions, the engagement rate. But actually, we need to think about how people land on our page and how people find us. So we were talking offline, for example, about search. So if someone goes to Google and types in the name of your company, chances are your company page, your LinkedIn company page will come up pretty high up in the search results. And that's one way in which people are going to find you. Similarly, on LinkedIn, people can conduct a search and land on your page. So it's not just about impressions and engagement rate, how many people are DMing you or booking calls on the back of seeing your post. It's also about all that sort of credibility stuff as well is super important.
I love that. I love that. So Debbie says, looking forward to being in the audience today. Thanks for all you do, Jillian. That's nice. Thank you, Debbie. Love your company name, Babushka Social, B2B social media marketing and logo. Can you tell us where Babushka Social comes in? Because it's cute with you got the like little babushka doll on your, I love it.
It's a little bit of a story, because I guess my background being in corporate marketing, I was a multi-channel marketer before I specialized in social. I was really thinking, I want a name that kind of helps convey something, right? So I was thinking, for me, social media is a bit like a Russian doll, in that if you handed someone a Russian doll and they'd never seen one before, they might be like, oh, that's a nice doll, and put it on the shelf and not know to open it up and see all the multiple dolls inside. And for me, social media is very similar, because unless you know how to get the most out of the platform, or whatever platform it is, whether it's LinkedIn, TikTok, you could be only touching the surface. So I thought, okay, that's really what I want to convey, that by hiring an expert, rather than just getting one doll, if you were doing it yourself, you could access the real power of social media and get multiple dolls that you never knew you could have. So that's kind of the story behind Babushka Social.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's a great story. That's a great story. Jeff Young says, I often advise folks to post stuff that would be okay for their grandmother to see. Grandmother's rule. So, I guess that's a good idea, that it's like, you're being actually probably more professional on your company page than you are on your personal profile. Would you say that's true, or what do you think?
So you mean in terms of the grandmother rule is like, keep it polite,
keep it clean, don't go all political on us.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, my background is working for big corporates in financial services, so we would have erred always on the side of the conservative and the cautious. But generally, the rules of social media, certainly in the professional space, is to avoid politics and religion.
Yes.
You want to avoid topics that can potentially cause division or create arguments. You never want to get personal. It's okay to disagree, but of course you need to do so in a polite, professional manner. It's a very, very, social media is a very public communication tool. And at the end of the day, your reputation, whether it's your personal reputation or the reputation of the company, you've always got to have that front and central of your thinking for whatever you do on social media.
Absolutely.
Yes to the grandmother
Absolutely.
rule.
Yes, yes. So Mindy Stern says, hello, Jillian and Aoife, let's grow together. That's nice. That's nice. I like that. I like that. And John Asperian, who is how we met, because we met
Yes,
through Espresso Plus and we got to meet in person, and we spent a lot of time together when we were in Brum.
we did.
We got to go out, we had tea together, we went shopping, we went to the mall together, you came back to the hotel, we were sitting in the hotel. We had a lot of time together, which was absolutely wonderful. So John says, I see you both currently prepping some content for the Espresso Plus community about LinkedIn company analytics. But first, supper.
Priorities, John. Yeah,
Always.
I mean, analytics. I mean, it's interesting topic, analytics, and I know John is brilliant on anything to do with data and numbers. He's got it nailed. I think, as a social media marketer, what I say to people is, yes, look at the numbers. Yes, look at your analytics, but also go with your instinct. The other thing I've learned working in social is it's an art and a science, because some of my most successful posts, whether they're for me personally or for clients, they've been like an idea I've had when I've been out walking. They've been an idea when I've been having that glass of wine over supper. And it's just, you just know it's going to work. You don't need a whole business case to back it up. So yes, the numbers are important, of course, but don't solely go by numbers. Often through experience, and through knowing your audience, your target audience, it's going to fly.
I love that. I love that. Pamela says, hi, ladies. So it's nice. We got all the ladies in the house today. The admin levels are super, Jeff says, super admin, content admin, and analyst. And, you go in and that's what's really nice about LinkedIn. You can actually go into their help articles and you can see all that these do. And probably one of the most important things is, if you always have to make sure with a company page who has the keys, because if people move around in companies. And I was telling you before we started today that StreamYard, who was bought out by Bending Spoons, hasn't posted anything on their company page in like 3 or 4 months. And you said, maybe because nobody can, that's a possibility that we both said that. And it's a possibility that sometimes when companies get bought, are you really thinking it through in terms of who had the keys to the social media? Because I know with StreamYard, a lot of people got laid off, like half their staff. So the person with the keys, they could be gone now. So
it's so important, Gillian. I mean, I think, it tends to be one that I was going to say it affects larger companies. It can affect a small company as well. But thinking of larger companies, when there are those layoffs or buyouts or whatever they might be, often it's the kind of more junior level or the social media manager who has that information and knows where it is. But it's also important to think, well, does the HR department know where it is? Because if the whole marketing team is wiped out, HR need to have access to key information around access to social media platforms, security, etc. Depending on the organization, potentially also compliance. I remember years ago, I'm going back probably at least 20 years ago, there was a big music store. I don't know if it existed in the United States, HMV, and they kind of overnight basically shut down. And there was like a story of where the HR manager was in a right panic, like, who was the keys to the Twitter account? And it was literally like this disaster because nobody left within the organization knew how to access their Twitter account. So of course, back in the day when Twitter was really important as a platform, but it was like, it was one of those things that we might joke about it, but it can and does happen to organizations where the people who know how to access passwords, how to switch accounts off, switch them on, etc. If they're gone, what are you going to do? So make sure multiple departments have access to that key information.
Absolutely. And probably even in the same light, I'm thinking the bigger the company the more important is to probably even have a social media policy where you figure out what you can do on social media, what, with your company page, what you can't do. You want to make sure everybody's in alignment and they're all flying the same way. And you wouldn't want one person posting this kind of thing and one person posting that kind of thing. So those things are important too. Always make sure you got the keys and the guidelines.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I fully agree with that.
So Debbie says, capturing video, in our case, webinar attendees, is great lead gen. So that could be another thing then with company pages, because company pages can do events. So I don't know, I'd have to think this through, but if you could gate a LinkedIn Live, I'm sure that you could gate other events from your company pages as well. So companies that want to do webinars and things like that, that maybe is something to be thinking about, utilizing your company pages for those as well. So yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I mean, I've worked with clients where they've run events, and you get the option to set up, it's like a registration form. So it makes it super easy for people to register, because you can auto complete people's details based on their LinkedIn data. Because I know sometimes if it's a lengthy registration, people get switched off by that. But it auto completes the information from LinkedIn. Of course, you have to consent to your information being shared. So it's a great way for lead gen, as you touched on earlier, to build your email list, but also, again, content repurposing. So I remember I was working with a client a few months ago, and she ran a webinar and was a little bit disappointed with the attendees. And we were talking about it afterwards, and I was asking, how did it go? And she said, well, quite a few people signed up, but not many of them actually joined. And I said, well, don't worry about that, because we can just repurpose the content into a whole bunch of short clips, into videos. And it was the first time she'd done video, so she was a little bit reticent about actually sharing the content. But certainly on the company page, because I was supporting her company page and personal profile, it was hands down the top performing content. So, I think you and I were both on the same page here. We couldn't say enough good things about video.
Absolutely. And it doesn't even have to be recent. It's like, if you have some video that you took a year ago, it doesn't matter. It's like, if it basically talks about what you do, helps establish your credibility, it's thought leadership, it's valuable content, chop it up, get it out there. It's like, I remember one time I sat down and I did a whole, like, my sister and I, on our previous company page, we sat down and we did a whole, set up the camera, and let's ask ourselves questions like we're being interviewed. So we'd ask the question and we'd answer the question, and we were filmed together. We chopped that up into like maybe about 10 or 15 videos, and we did nice custom thumbnails. And I always add that in. It's like, that looks so good on the video tab if you have a really nice thumbnail. And we had, what the Launch for Life team thinks about YouTube, and what the Launch for Life team thinks about, video, all Zoom, all these different things. Anybody can do this. So you don't even have to have a webinar. Just turn on the camera and start making content.
Absolutely. And just jumping back briefly, if I may, to, ways in which you can grow the company page, because again, I know, we're all going to be, a lot of marketers or business owners, they look at the numbers, right? They're going to go, how many followers have I got? How many page impressions, etc. The other thing you can do now as a company page, it's been around for a while actually, is you can comment as the page. So when you're a page admin, you get a little drop down where you can toggle between commenting as yourself or commenting as the page admin. And quite a nice way to gain visibility of your page is to actually comment as the page. So it could be on other company posts or also on personal posts. And I found it works quite well to attract people to your page, because they might go, oh, that comment is quite interesting. I'm going to see what's this page about. What's, for example, Babushka Social about. I'm going to go check it out. So I think that's a nice thing to do. And it also helps to, I suppose, give a voice to a page, because sometimes it can be a little bit like, well, it's a brand, it's a corporate, so it's trying to humanize and show that the voice and the personality behind that brand and behind that company.
Exactly. And even the fact that there's now even, you can have messages to company pages. That's a new thing where you can actually send them messages. So again, conversations. It's so important to have those conversations. So Joe Edge, another one of our Espresso Plus people, she says, hi, ladies. Looking forward to this chat as I am a big fan of company pages. Isn't it great? It's great. It's good. Everybody's coming out in droves talking about this today. So Debbie says 100 company page followers is a great milestone for a new company page admins. Once attained, the SEO for that page goes right into Google, helping your rankings there. So there you go. There's another. That's
a great tip.
That's a great tip.
And, I was just going to say about, another strategy to think about for growing your page is thinking of your employees. So as a page admin, you can invite connections to follow the page, and you get, I think it's 250 credits a month. But also employees of the company can invite people to follow the page. But before people go running off inviting everybody in their network to follow a page, I always kind of say, hang on a second, just hang fire slightly and try and be a little bit selective about who you invite. Because if you invite a whole bunch of people and they choose to follow the page because they go, oh, I like Gillian on a personal level, so I'm going to follow her page just, to be a good friend or be a good neighbor, whatever. But they've got no interest in your content. They're not helping you, because if they never go onto LinkedIn or only go on maybe, Christmas and Easter time or whatever, when the content gets served in their feed, if they're not engaging with it, they're actually not helping you at all, because, that doesn't support your content. So you want to invite people who you think would genuinely be interested in your company page, what your company is about, and the sort of content you're going to be putting out there.
That's great advice. That's great advice. I love that. So we have reached the end of our 30 minutes. It always goes by, zipping by.
Fast.
I know. So is there any kind of final words of wisdom you'd want to share with us today on this whole growing your company page?
Yeah, I think as we've just been talking about employees, so there's two other quick features I'll mention that help employees to get involved with your page content and supporting growing your page. One is when you publish a post, there's a little button you can select top right of the post where it gives you the option to say notify employees. What that will do is it'll trigger a notification to your employees to say the company page is just posted, which you're hoping they will then go and engage with the page. Second thing I would say is when it comes to training your employees, especially important in smaller companies, do talk to them about supporting the company page content. And the best way they can support the post is by commenting. I know people can be a bit shy, but do encourage them to comment. And please, please, please say more than just great posts. Look at trying to comment, 15 words plus is optimum. And because that will really help give that page post a boost. And the first 60 minutes after you've posted is most important for driving engagement. Wonderful. So we could probably talk about this for hours, Juliet, but
that's great.
I know we're out of time.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you very much for being here today. Thank you to everybody who joined in with us live and later on the podcast. And we just appreciate you being here. And let's go forth and grow those company pages, everybody. So we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.